What are we doing again?
We're back-ish. Oh, we're so new back that I forgot that today's podcast is brought to you by Behind the Tech with Kevin Scott. And you can find that podcast on all major podcast platforms because we're back. That's how fresh this is, Paul. That's how fresh it is.
I can't remember what the point of this is again. What do we do?
I don't know. I'm just really hoping that the audio is actually working and functioning.
Yeah. How are we going to know until it's over? And then we realize
Until
it's
we get the barrage of emails.
Dude, I just went and walked the dog, and it's like 86 degrees out already.
Let me ask you this: How was the volume of noise outside?
Oh, so here's the thing: we're not getting it. So,
want my money back.
I have two questions to ask of my brother-in-law who's lived here his entire life, and that's one of them because he insisted this was a thing that happens, which actually I now have more information on. The other one was like, and I don't know, you must have like corn farms, farmlands near you, stuff like that. You must, right?
I mean,
in Ohio?
There are cornfields in Ohio, but then there's not like cornfields close to me by any means.
Well, I will say, and I'm just going off 3-4 years of experience here. There's nothing happening on this front. Like very few fields have been, I don't know, farmed. I guess I don't know what to call it. And they rotate right between soybean and corn. And there's a couple of exceptions, but all the major cornfields near me are just sitting untended, and I don't know what's going on. Like
I don't know if that's. I mean, these little jerks like trees. I don't know if they would go after corn. It seems like that may not be.
Oh no! Sorry, I don't mean to say these things are related. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. Although actually, that's an interesting theory. So I don't know. I'm just saying it's two things that are kind of weird going on this summer here. So I'll try to have. I don't know. Everyone's resting on the edge of the seat on this one, but
very much so.
My wife went to get the dog at the grooming place, which is actually pretty far out in the hinterlands, and out there they are having the cicada thing. And she said she opened the door and she was like, "Oh my god!" And I guess it's really high pitched.
Oh,
like,
yes.
Doesn't
it's
sound
like tinnitus,
the way
just constantly.
Yeah.
But,
so I mean, everyone has. Well, most people probably experience the outdoor insect at night thing where it's this cacophony of sound. So I'm sort of used to that sound, but I guess this is higher pitched.
Mm-hmm. And here's the great big benefit of that, Paul.
The carcasses.
You cannot escape it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
the
I have
peak,
escaped it.
The peak is going to be the peak of their screaming of fiery death is this week supposedly. Okay. Now, conveniently, it's supposed to be pouring rain here all week. I'm hoping the little jerks just drown, like in a biblical sense.
Eating, you can always, the total reset that your brain just did through your eyes is all I need to know about that story. Frankly, I would die in a sea of these things if I could eat anything else.
I'll try to find an appropriate way to record how loud these things are. Like what I'll do is I'll set my phone down and record the volume, and then I'll open a can of like beer or something like a couple inches away, so you can hear like the comparison.
Yeah.
Well, the benefit is you cannot escape it because you can hear it inside your house.
Right.
Because
white noise might be enjoyable for some.
But it's not white noise. It's like just little things in the screen going.
Yeah.
Just like the Titanic is sinking, and this is the last.
For some reason, it's lasting for 2 weeks.
Why do people miss this for 10 days or whatever? Whatever. So, how do you feel about Windows 11?
I feel resigned, but let me explain that. I didn't mean that in a total loser way. I mean, I'm resigned to the fact that now we're going to deal with weeks of speculation. I'm resigned to the fact that there are going to be leaks where it's like, oh, look, they're doing this. But what I'm really resigned to is we're eventually going to get it. And I suspect it's going to be good looking and whatever. Mm-hmm. But they're not going to fix all the problems with Windows, right? Like this is going to be like a surface level spit shine thing, which look, it needs. And I'm happy about that. That's fine. But then I'm going to be resigned to all the complaining because, oh, look, the control panel's still there. Oh, look, the legacy interfaces haven't been touched. Oh, look, and I just think we need to level set our expectations a little bit. And that's me being resigned. I just knowing I'm going to be dealing with the chaos of both sides of it. You know, how do you feel about it, Brad?
I'd like to say I told you so. I don't know. We've been talking about whatever Windows. We've been talking about, like, if you go back to Windows 10X days, like, there needs to be a branding moment. And I think all of us could make a pretty big argument that says, hey, just call it Windows, just drop the numbering. But that doesn't work. It doesn't work for the consumer standing at Best Buy going, I have Windows 10, but that thing has Windows. I'm not going to buy that.
It's not work. You can't do that. And by the way, unfortunately, with a name as generic as Windows, I think you run into ownership problems. Microsoft is always, it's Microsoft Windows. Technically the name. And as we move forward, they come up with these crazy brands. I like many people. Why not just go? Because they can't. So
it doesn't. It is clean and simple and elegant as it is. There's actually some precedence for this. Surface Pro. They went Surface Pro. What was it? 3, 4. Then
5. They did.
Yeah. And now they're back to numbering. Like, Microsoft knows that it works, and
and maybe more specifically, Panos Panay knows. Being the person who was running Surface at the time, and still obviously, and I'm resigned to that. We're going to be arguing over everything. Not you and I. I mean, collectively, us as a community. I don't know what to say here. Like, it's hard for me not to be a little down on this, because I know in my heart, based on decades of experience, they're not going to go far enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is not, and also, let's just be realistic here. The high point for Windows launches, obviously, was Windows 95. The interesting thing is, for a brief moment of time, they could have continued that level of success. I think Windows XP would have been a much bigger deal if it hadn't been for 9/11. And then when they started launching Longhorn, or talking about Longhorn in 2003, I mean, there was a scrum of people fighting each other to get to the stage so they could be as close as possible. There was a moment of excitement, and it was, for me, probably the high point, but ultimately also the low point, because it never happened, So, and then, of course, the iPhone happened, and the world changed. So there's not going to be a new revolution, right? We're not.
Right. I mean, they can't.
Yes, we have to be.
There's also just not enough time. I mean, Panos has only been running Windows for 18 months?
Not even. It was
whatever it is. It's
maybe. Okay, I don't remember now.
Something like that. Like, it's not a significant amount of time in the world of Windows development when you consider how far they kind of have to draw the line in the sand to be actually ship something.
By the way, let's not forget, for the 2 years prior to that, no one was running Windows, basically, right? And as maybe more important, no one running Windows, because Rajesh, Ujah, or whatever, was sort of running Windows, ever had representation on the senior leadership team, right? So now that Panos runs Windows, he is on the SLT. He has that voice. Now, I'm sure a lot. Look, they didn't just invent this stuff last week. I mean, I'm sure a lot of this dates, back to whatever. Right. I don't know. And some of the work that was maybe going to be in 10X is going to be applied here, at least from a visual perspective. Fine. But yeah, I think the thing we are looking at here is like drop and replace. I don't think we're going to see any radical new interfaces, right? There's been rumors of things like touch, where like something like the Charms bar is going to come back or whatever. But as far as like the general interaction model, start button, start menu, taskbar, desktop, icons, I think that what do you call it? Paradigm, that whatever you want to say that is. I think we've retained that. Those elements will all be prettier, right? The start menu supposedly be floating off of the thing not connected, rounded corners and all that. And you've seen Mac OS, Big Sur. It's pretty, right?
Yep.
If we get something like that for Windows, that's a step forward. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. And if you want to take a step forward in your podcast listening, you can definitely, or probably should, check out, I was going to say First Ring Daily, but Behind the Tech with Kevin Scott. That would probably be a better place to go. And there's a good chance you may have heard this name, but if you haven't, he is the Chief Technology Officer over at Microsoft. Kevin Scott's got a beautiful podcast. And this latest episode, he's talking to Dr. David Baker about influencing protein design. And that is a topic that I don't think Paul and I will ever touch, but influencing protein design. You can go check that out. There's an impressive back catalog, by the way, including people like Sam Altman, Mae Jemison, and a whole bunch of others with Behind the Tech with Kevin Scott. You will find links down in the description below. If you haven't, make sure to add that to your podcast listening roll, because it will make you just a little bit smarter, more than likely.
It's fascinating watching you slide right back into the Segway thing. You know, you
The shoulder slump,
almost
like
2 weeks. It's like muscle memory.
yeah.
You know.
So I'll have. I don't know if this post will get done this week because I suspect it's going to be pretty long. But we will have the culmination of 1,500 miles in a golf cart.
Yeah. So
There are highs. There are
remind
lows.
us again. I believe your wife and child flew both directions.
Yeah.
Is that
So
right?
I went. I soloed it on the way down,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was a family hauler on the way back.
Oh, you came back with the kid and the wife and kid. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not going to put that on a plate. Like, just,
I
mean,
mean,
I think it's a pretty good review if you get 750 miles done. But yeah, so
but
we
you
got
have the
full-
experience of driving down, and then you realize, like, okay, I can make this work, and it will be okay with them.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's really good in some aspects, in other aspects, it's just not mature enough. I'll give you an example here because yesterday was a slog. We drove all yesterday, and it was a slog to get back.
Now,
we hit,
because of the traffic,
because
I
of
feel like
because of multiple things. Like the going down was perfect. I hit no traffic. It was just me, my thoughts, some Spotify on the car, and it was great. Coming back yesterday, we hit multiple bouts of just pouring rain, which just put what should have been about a 12-hour drive, 12 hours, 12, 15 minutes was like 14 and a half because we hit just tons of traffic. And then here's sort of like the kicker is so Tesla by far has the best charging infrastructure
of course.
for
Is
EVs.
there another charging infrastructure?
Right.
I mean,
Well, there's like Plug Share America or Electrify America. But I'm telling you, the Achilles heel for not just Teslas, but everything is going to be the charging network. Because here's a great example of how Tesla's really good charging network completely kind of screwed over the route coming home. So you get in your car and you press it and you go. And it's super easy. They have it set up and you go to the right chargers, but not all chargers are created equal. There's superchargers like the first gen.
it's like USB standards.
No,
They all look the
dude,
same, but
that's not a bad analogy
Yeah.
because there's two types of Tesla superchargers. There's ones that do, I think it's 125 kilowatts, and then there's some that do 250. The 250 are like what we would consider quick charging. It'll do 1,000 miles in an hour, like just blazing fast. 20 minutes is all you need. The other ones can take up to about 40 minutes, but the first gen have a really, really significant flaw, which bit me in the butt.
okay.
Is so let's say there's 8 charging stations. Well, the older design, I believe the 250 kilowatts, some of them solve this, but the first gen, if there's 2 of them will share that 120
No.
kilowatt.
You got to be kidding me.
So if somebody plugs in next to you, your charging rate gets cut in half, which so you go from like 40 minutes of charging to over an hour at a high density spot. And I got routed to one of these high, I don't know why Tesla sent us there, probably because it's most efficient, but a high usage one. So like I'm charging, says, oh great, 20 minutes and we're back on the road, just enough time to go to the bathroom, grab a water.
And then while you're in the bathroom, someone comes in and plugs in
and
next
somebody
to you.
came in and plugged in, and I looked at him like, why? And that really set us back. And I'm not gonna. The whole article is definitely not a negative by any means, but
but it's important to know
but
that
there's
stuff.
realities of taking an electric car this far, and it's good for some people. Like if you're willing, like it's one of those things. Like as long as you're doing it as an adventure, it's fine. It's a lot of fun. But if you're going,
but come on, most people are going to just rely on it as a vehicle, and then, well, maybe not now, but
if
eventually.
your intent is to go from point A to point B the fastest, it's not worth it yet.
Right.
With the exception, I should say, the long hauls. Like my wife and I both agreed at the end of this, like this car is perfect for like a 5-hour road trip.
Yep.
Like if we're driving 5 hours away.
I mean that what you the amount of time you drove is incredible. Like that I don't remember anymore. I think it was 9 or 10 hours for me when we came back from North Carolina, and I was in rough shape, when that was over. Like I can't, driving that long is
it's rough.
hard.
I mean, in a gas car, perfect scenario, you can go from my house to where we were in 11 and a half. That's with that's with like one stop, no eating, nothing. So I mean, it is a long trip. So I'll write a bunch of
but
this
I
stuff
think it's
up.
important to stop. Like you want to stretch your legs, grab a drink, go to the bathroom, whatever. I think this summer we did an impromptu one night thing to New Jersey on Friday because my daughter has I don't know if I ever mentioned this. She completely screwed over our summer plans. No, she had like a perfect job here, and her friend was like, "You should spend the summer with me at our beach house." It's like this. Anyway, so we wanted to go out and see it, and blah, blah, blah. So I guess it's okay. But the thing is, like, you can tell like this summer is going to be a freaking disaster for travel. Like we drove over there. It's about 2 hours, maybe 2:15, something like that. And it was about that on the way there. And honestly, the ride home wasn't too bad. But what we saw, literally, the entire width of New Jersey on the way home was a traffic jam.
Yeah.
And it went all the way to Philadelphia. There's always traffic around Philadelphia. You could drive to Philadelphia at 2:30 in the morning. You hit traffic. It's the weirdest city. And it's always in the same places. But so we knew we were going to hit that. But like, I was just looking at that and I'm thinking to myself, man, this is like, it's finally warm here, right? It's like hot, actually. It's been hot the last couple of days. But this is what the summer's going to look like, And I don't know. I get nervous about gas, like when I'm doing a long trip, it's like I don't like it to get down too far. And even though there are gas stations everywhere on the highway, it's no big deal. But like that kind of traffic would freak me out,
Well, here's the other kicker though. No, I didn't have to pay for the mileage because I had free miles from referrals and whatnot. If I would have had to pay for the electric going all the way down, all the way back, it would have been, I think, $32
No, that's
round trip, like all in.
Yeah,
which gas would have been over $200 easy. So,
yeah, I mean, right. I think we can go. I think I'd remember this by now. I've been paying attention to it. Somewhere in the 320-350 range on a tank of gas miles.
That's about what my golf cart can do. So anyways,
yeah,
I'll have a big old write up eventually here. I don't know if it's going to get done this week. It just depends when I just sit down. Coming back from vacation, house is a bit of a
my car requires premium fuel too. This is another thing I just found out. Like I've always put premium fuel in. No, I've always put it in. I've always used it. And I saw a thing online. It's like the premium fuel is a scam, and I'm like, I should read this, right? And it's true for most cars. You don't need premium fuel.
Correct.
So I looked it up for my car, and you do. You literally need the highest. It's 91 or higher. And if you go lower than that, you can go to the next one down, but it actually lowers the fuel economy and the performance of the engine, so it doesn't knock. And I was like, we gotta start thinking about getting a cheaper kind of car. Like this is dumb. Like we literally have to buy the most expensive gas. So.
Yep. Anyways, today's podcast is brought to you by Behind the Tech with Kevin Scott. You can find that link on all major podcast platforms. We've got a lot more information coming ahead this week, including, I don't know, something may probably make fun of Paul, I guess. Maybe.
Oh, I missed you.